you know by now that that beautiful theme song means it is another episode of Two Paths. Two Paths is a show that was created by Keith Galliher Jr., and it's called Two Paths because one week we'll take the legal path like we did last week, and then the next week we'll take the musical path like we're taking this week. If you'd like to get involved with us, we're heard on 1180 AM KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast radio signal in northern Nevada and northern California. We're also heard around the world at americamatters.us. That's americamatters.us. The musical path with Keith Galliher Jr. Let's go directly to the creator and the host of the show, Mr. Keith Galliher.
Well, thank you, Eddie, for your usual wonderful introduction. And, of course, I'm Keith Galliher Jr., along with my co-host, Clarence Collins, and my other co-host, Eddie Floyd. We're here today on the Two Paths radio show, and our theme today is the music. As all of you listeners know, we alternate. One week we're music, next week we're the law. Last week we spent a little time talking about Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and how much trouble they were in with respect to the emails and the meeting with the Russians. Well, we're on a much more pleasant subject this week. We're talking about the music. And I must say I'm very pleased and proud to have our special guest today. He's Anwar Najmi. Anwar is the founder and the president of the Akademia.
Wow.
Those of you who have listened to the show in the past know I have mentioned the Akademia on many, many occasions. I think it's a very fantastic organization. But for all of you aspiring musicians out there who really want to know what is on the cutting edge of the music industry in this day and age, today we're going to be able to answer those questions because we want, as what we say in the law, the person most knowledgeable about the Akademia and the cutting edge of today's music industry, Mr. Anwar Najmi. Anwar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Keith. That's a wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, Anwar, for those out there who were not initiated, give us a description of what the Akademia is.
Sure. You know, the Akademia really began as an idea formed out of personal experience. My wife and I are musicians, and we had years back begun recording albums and putting out our own music. And, you know, we're deep in the industry here in Los Angeles. And we had networked with a broad range of record executives and publishing companies and venue owners, and we're making pretty good strides. But what we encountered, you know, a few years into the industry was a rather dismal environment for musicians. You know, following the basic collapse of the formal recording industry, you know, over the last 10 to 20 years, independent musicians have been left stranded, much akin to a refugee camp, with no path, no professional development strategy, and no team behind them. So we took a look around at this environment, and being musicians ourselves, we said, you know, this is nuts. Something's got to change. There is so much talent out there, so many amazing creative minds that deserve to be heard, and somebody's got to step in and help these guys get the traction and get the support that they need. So we began to split our time between creating our own music in the studio and working with other artists to get them the promotional and marketing support and business support that they needed. And that morphed over a span of about 8 years into what is now the Akademia, which is we now work with artists from all across the globe, from Los Angeles to New York to Rio de Janeiro to Tokyo, in all genres, you know, ranging from ambient instrumental to folk to pop to rock, rap, hip-hop. You know, we love all forms of music. And we've been working now with a large group of musicians worldwide, using the strength in numbers to begin to leverage our collective strength for the good of the group. And that's where the Akademia sits now, and we have certainly a lot of exciting developments and plans where we're going to take this idea in the future. But that pretty much describes us.
Wow.
Well, we're going to talk about some of those plans, we hope, as long as you'll be willing to reveal some of those secrets that you have. But for those out there who don't know you personally, Anwar, tell us about your background before you founded the Akademia. You gave us a little brief summation, but if you can, go into a little bit more depth about your experience in the music industry and certainly also your experience with your wife as musicians as well, and so that the people out there can get just a sense of who you are and get to know you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I think probably at the end of that process, you'll see I have a fairly eclectic background, much like you, Keith. But I would say my youth would be characterized in two dimensions. I was an artist. I did pen and ink illustrations all through my childhood, comic book art, fantasy art. And at the same time, I was studying cello privately and went fairly far with cello up to sort of concert cellist level. And then college came, and like most good parents, I was routed into, a formal professional path. In this case, it was pre-medical or biology, biochemistry. So I was immersed in that for about 4 years, and all the while, though, kind of torn between pursuing my love of music and studying, intensely for the exams and the MCAT. And this just started to create a real sort of dynamic tension in my life, and I'm sure, Keith, you're familiar with this and have experienced this, where both paths are important to you and both have real value, but yet are sometimes antithetical and pull you in different directions. And so I think it was that difficulty of balancing these sort of conflicting goals of music and academics that started to cultivate this idea that you can hold dual aspects of your nature at the same time. And then upon graduating, I met my wife in the corporate world, and we got some great managerial and executive experience there. But following that, I would say what really triggered the creation of the Akademia, as counterintuitive as it may sound, is when we began studying the martial arts.
Wow.
So up until now, we had the academic background, we had been immersed in art. This physical engagement of the mind and the body, in a strange way, just made all the pieces fit together. And the Akademia idea was born.
Wow. Anwar, with your permission, and Keith and Clarence, I want to tell our listeners right now we're going to our very first break on Keith Galliher Jr. and Clarence Collins' Two Paths show, The Musical Path, with a very, very special guest today, Anwar Najmi. He's the founder and president of Akademia. We'll be right back.